Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moment. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Martial Universe Season 9 Part 44 based on novel. So let's start. In the sky, a figure shot out from within a scarlet red cauldron. Proceeding to wave his sleeve, the glowing cauldron transformed into a streak of light, before drilling into his body. Big brother Lin Dong, upon seeing this spectacle, happiness instantly flashed across Mu Lingshan's big eyes, who was getting somewhat restless while guarding him outside. Lin Dong smiled at Mu Lingshan. After he saw that nothing amiss had occurred, he faintly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. After all, there were already quite a number of treasure hunters in this cave dwelling. If they were to discover that Lin Dong had obtained the purest Thunderbolt core, it would be quite troublesome. Big brother Lin Dong, have you dealt with that demonic corpse? Looking at Lin Dong's back, Mu Lingshan asked after she realized that the silvery corpse that had caused them quite a bit of trouble was no longer there. Yes. I've helped that senior to dispel the Yimo Chi within his body. However, he's just a remnant soul. After his will scattered, he disappeared from this world. Lin Dong replied, nodding his head while showing a smile to her. Big brother Lin Dong is truly formidable. Mu Lingshan happily smiled. She was clear that the demonic corpse possessed strength comparable to an advanced profound death state expert. If they were to cross blows, it would be quite troublesome for the two of them. I got lucky, that's all. Lin Dong replied with a smile as he rubbed Mu Lingshan's little head. What he said was indeed true. If it was not for the fact that Zhou Fei still had a sliver of consciousness left, it would be impossible for him to dispel the Yimo Chi within his body with such ease. Even though he had the three great divine treasures, if an expert at advanced profound death stage went all out and fought with him, he would not have the time to activate and manipulate his divine treasures. Where should we go now? Mu Lingshan scanned her surroundings with her big eyes before asking. Let's head straight to the deepest part of this cave dwelling. Lin Dong's gaze headed straight toward the end of this vast and expansive land. He had obtained the location of the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol from Zhou Fei. Obviously, the Thunder Hall should be the place where all the top experts within the cave dwelling would be gathering at. Let's go. Lin Dong said while waving his hand. They had already spent half a day over here. If they did not hurry, the Nine Serene Gate, Mysterious Sky Hall as well as the other experts would have already reached the Thunder Hall. Although Lin Dong wasn't worried about them being able to discover the Thunder World first, it's always best to be cautious. Those fellows shouldn't be aware that the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol is in this cave dwelling. Lin Dong muttered to himself. If the Nine Serene Gate and the Mysterious Sky Hall were to know about it, regardless of how strange the Sky Lightning Sea region is, they will use every means to try to send even stronger experts over. At that time, it would no longer be young men like Pang Hao and Liu Xiaoxuan leading the pack. After muttering to himself, Lin Dong didn't continue to waste any more time. His body moved before he transformed into a streak of light, shooting forwards. Behind him, Mu Lingshan followed closely behind. On the way towards the Thunder Hall, there were quite a few places that appeared to have treasures hidden within. Furthermore, there were quite a few experts converging in those places. However, Lin Dong did not stop. Instead, he headed straight for the depths of the cave dwelling. As he rushed along with this mindset, his efficiency was substantially improved. When nightfall left and the horizon started to light up, Lin Dong was able to faintly discern that the sky in this region had dimmed down and darkened. A few storm clouds hovered in the sky. Faintly, one could hear claps of thunder resounding across, rumbling as they rang across this vast and expansive land. The lightning energy in here is getting increasingly berserk. On the crown of a giant tree, Lin Dong's figure appeared in a flash. Raising his head, he stared at the dark sky covered with storm clouds. He could feel a pressurizing sensation radiating from it. This caused the yuan power within one's body to revolve slower. The lightning energy within the depths of this cave dwelling was undoubtedly much more berserk than the outside world. Big brother Lin Dong, the number of experts in the vicinity is increasing. After scanning her surroundings with her big eyes, Mu Lingshan said to Lin Dong. Hearing her words, Lin Dong faintly nodded his head. He was also able to sense quite a few powerful auras within this region. Those auras were undoubtedly much more tyrannical than those experts he had met previously. Furthermore, their objective was clear: the thunder hole in the depths of the cave dwelling. They've decided to show themselves, huh? Lin Dong muttered to himself softly. He already knew that there were exceptionally powerful elites hidden amongst those who were drawn to this cave dwelling. However, a large number of them had previously maintained an extremely low profile. Now, after arriving at their destination, those experts would naturally begin to reveal themselves. Let's go. The Thunder Hall isn't far from here, Lin Dong said while pursing his lips. It did not matter how many experts were drawn by this cave dwelling. After all, he will definitely obtain the Thunderbolt ancestral symbol. For the sake of obtaining it, Lin Dong had spent years of blood, sweat and hard work. Step by step, he had finally arrived at his destination. It was no easy journey. Upon saying his words, Lin Dong and Mu Lingshan shot forward once again. However, this time, they didn't continue on for long. After approximately 2 hours, they slowly came to a halt. Following which, their eyes brought along some astonishment, as they surveyed the vast land before them. That was a vast and expansive stretch of silvery earth, whose edges cannot be fathomed. On the surface of the ground, if one was to look carefully, one would see lightning coursing through just like snakes slithering about. When seen from afar, it appeared like a gorgeous and magnificent lightning sea. At this juncture, the stretch of lightning sea earth was covered with deep gulches. Those gulches were approximately 10 kilometers deep, with their bottoms seeming unfathomable. Furthermore, they appeared in fantastic oddities of every description, and didn't seem to be naturally formed. They looked more like scars left by an earth-shakingly battle. A terrifying great battle must have taken place here in the past. Staring at those deep gulches that seemingly tore the land apart, a tinge of shock flashed across Lin Dong's eyes as he softly commented. If he was not mistaken, the main players in this great war should be the Lord Thunder Emperor and the King Yimo mentioned by Zhou Fei. It was truly difficult to imagine a fight between two individuals at that level. It reached the stage in which they could easily destroy the land with a flip of their palms. Oh! Where's the Thunder Hall? Scanning her surroundings with her big eyes, Mu Lingshan suddenly spoke out doubtfully. She was unable to find the so-called hall within this desolated and ruined land. Everything here, and even the mountains that originally existed, seemed to have been reduced into dust due to that great battle. Lin Dong's eyes also swept across his surroundings. With a faint thought, he slowly raised his head and looked towards the sky above the land. Thick storm clouds were hovering at that spot. Boundless and enormous fluctuations were faintly discernible as they radiated from that spot. The Thunder Hall isn't on the ground, but within the storm clouds. Looking at the storm clouds floating in the sky, a faint smile appeared on Lin Dong's face as he answered. It's actually in the sky? Upon hearing Lin Dong's reply, amazement flashed uncontrollably within Mu Lingshan's crystal-like eyes. Lin Dong nodded his head, before gradually floating up. In a straightforward fashion, he flew towards the stretch of storm clouds, with Mu Lingshan following closely behind. As they drew closer to the stretch of storm clouds, the peals of thunder coming from within grew increasingly deafening. The stretch of sky was permeated by a berserk lightning energy, with lightning bolts coursing through the clouds just like slithering snakes. Lin Dong's figure finally appeared outside of the stretch of storm clouds. Turning his attention towards the clouds, he saw that on the storm clouds stood a lightning hall, which was grand beyond words, quietly floating on the storm clouds. The ancient loftiness radiating out of it was capable of shaking the hearts of people. That's the Thunder Hall, huh? Looking at the giant hall towering above the storm clouds, Lin Dong involuntarily sucked in a deep breath of air. Thick flames of blazing passion erupted out from the depths of his eyes just like a flood. The Thunderbolt ancestral symbol laid in the Thunder world therein. After so many years, Lin Dong had finally reached here. Lin Dong's rising emotions were quickly restrained by him. Giving his surroundings a sweep, he discovered that there were already quite a few figures hovering above the storm clouds surrounding the Thunder Hall. Obviously, they were experts that had rushed over from various locations. Furthermore, all of them had intrepid auras radiating out of them, clearly demonstrating that none of them were pushovers. Within those storm clouds, Lin Dong predictably spotted some familiar figures as well. The entire division of the 9 Serene Gate as well as the mysterious Sky Hall had all arrived. As Lin Dong's gaze swept past, Pang Hao seemed to have discovered it. Immediately, his face turned gloomy. From the looks of it, never did he imagine that Lin Dong would actually be able to survive after being pursued by that demonic corpse. Upon spotting Lin Dong, an astonished look appeared within the beautiful eyes of Liu Xiaoxuan, before she stared at the former. Since he was able to escape from the hands of an advanced profound death stage demonic corpse, this indicated that he was no ordinary individual. Faced with their gazes, Lin Dong only gave a smile, before retracting his gaze. All of a sudden, with a turn of his head, he turned and looked towards a different direction within the storm clouds. 3 men stood in the air within that stretch of storm clouds. At the moment, the 3 of them were staring at him with sadistic smiles on their faces. All 3 of them were wearing black and white robes, with the black and white colored intertwining, akin to the fusion of yin and yang. At this moment, upon seeing the special robes, Lin Dong's expression instantly turned gloomy. An inexplicable killing intent rose like floodwaters within his eyes. The palms within his sleeves slowly clenched up. A malevolent intent slowly erupted from his eyes as he gently looked down. He will never ever forget this pattern for his entire life. Yuan Gate. Big brother Lin Dong, what's the matter? The suddenly gloominess and slightly malevolent expression coming out from Lin Dong startled Mu Lingshan, who hastily asked. Lin Dong slowly shook his head. However, his eyes were still firmly locked onto the 3 people within the distant storm clouds. Never did he imagine that he would actually meet Yuan Gate disciples here. Furthermore, from the way that they looked at him, Lin Dong knew that they should have known his identity a long time ago. The arms of Yuan Gate have actually extended to the chaotic demon sea. A chilling glint flashed within Lin Dong's eyes. This was the first time that he had bumped into people from the Eastern Xian region ever since he arrived at the chaotic demon sea. However, since we've met, I can't just pretend that I didn't see them, right? A shred of killing intent flashed across Lin Dong's face. He had a deep grudge with Yuan Gate. Furthermore, from the trio's appearance, it was obvious they were up to no good. Therefore, Lin Dong did not mind collecting some payback from Yuan Gate for the time being. Lin Dong was faintly able to sense powerful fluctuations radiating out from their bodies. These fluctuations appeared to be even more overbearing than Pang Hao's. Obviously, the 3 of them should be fairly outstanding members of Yuan Gate. Does big brother Lin Dong have a grudge with those 3 fellows? Mu Lingshan had also discovered the 3 people at this moment. Immediately, she asked Lin Dong softly. Lin Dong gently nodded his head. Are we going to fight? Mu Lingshan asked, as her little hands grasped the life-death coffin cover. A eagerness glint flooded out of her big eyes. There's no need for now. Currently, the most important thing is to enter the Thunder Hall. Lin Dong replied while faintly shaking his head. Although discovering the presence of Yuan Gate members had stirred the killing intent within his heart, he understood the gravity of the situation. Regardless, the lightning ancestral symbol was the most important thing now. Upon hearing this, Mu Lingshan resentfully withdrew the excitement within her eyes. Lin Dong's gloomy gaze was similarly withdrawn at the same time, while the malevolent expression on his face was replaced by a calm and expressionless one. At this moment, no one could tell what Lin Dong was thinking in his heart. Oh no, we've been discovered. What a scary glare, he must be skilled. As Lin Dong retracted his gaze, the 3 figures within the storm cloud started to chuckle. It was obvious that they were teasing him and they were hardly nervous or scared at all. When do we make our move, boss? A male with bright and resplendent silver hair gave a faint smile. Looking towards a man with a lock of white hair drooping over his forehead, he asked with a smile. Hearing his words, the man with his hair drooping down, only gave a faint smile. His pupils were so black that they looked quite bizarre, almost as though they didn't have any focal depth to them. There is no rush. Let's enter the Thunder Hall first. We've came here to execute our mission. Upon hearing his reply, a strange black glint suddenly flashed across the depths of the silver-haired male's eyes. In the next moment, he asked quietly, "Is that Lord truly at this location? The information should be correct." The man with drooping hair replied with a faint nod. Turning to look at Lindong, the Nine Serene Gate and the mysterious Sky Hall, he continued speaking softly, "In addition, we have to get all 3 Silver Tower keys." Understood. The other 2 men started smiling. While chatting, they appeared exceedingly relaxed. It was as if obtaining the keys from Lindong and the rest was a simple feat. Upon witnessing their reactions, the man with drooping hair didn't continue talking anymore. With his hands behind his back, his indifferent gaze turned towards the lofty Thunder Hall floating in the storm clouds, as a black glint sparkled within his eyes. At the same time, above another storm cloud, a figure covering completely in red robes was scanning his surroundings as he observed the various powerful experts that had gathered in the surroundings of the Thunder Hall. After doing so, he started to laugh. "Looks like quite a few stray dogs and cats have arrived. This is somewhat interesting." As the laughing voice rang out, his gaze turned towards the Thunder Hall. In the next moment, spatial fluctuations radiated out from his body, before he mysteriously disappeared. "Big Brother Lindong, why is no one heading into the Thunder Hall?" After observing her surroundings, Mu Lingshan noticed that there were quite a number of experts already here. However, what surprised her the most was that none of them had taken the initiative to enter the Thunder Hall. The Thunder Hall is wrapped up by a lightning shroud. However, this lightning shroud is gradually becoming weaker. Everyone is waiting for it to dissipate. Lindong replied with a smile. Upon hearing his reply, Mu Lingshan understood in a flash. Upon closer inspection, she finally realized that the surroundings of the Thunder Hall were wrapped with glowing lightning bolt markings that were hard to be discerned by the naked eye. At this moment, however, those glowing markings were gradually dissipating akin to ripples on a water surface. As time elapsed, whooshing sounds would ring out from time to time in this stretch of land. Some experts would rush over here from behind. After a period of time, more figures started appearing within the storm clouds, causing this place to become quite lively. As the number of experts that had rushed over grew, under the scorching gazes coming from the surroundings, the lightning shroud around the Thunder Hall started to turn weaken. This lasted for approximately 10 minutes, before a faint cracking sound rang out. Currently, the lightning shroud had completely dissipated. The split second the lightning shroud disappeared, the originally noisy storm clouds abruptly turned quiet. In the next instant, unconcealable greed erupted from the eyes of quite a few experts. "Let's go!" Suddenly a roar brimming with greedy rang out from someone's mouth, causing the taut and quiet atmosphere within the storm clouds to instantly collapse. Unable to suppress the greed in their hearts anymore, a few experts took the lead and charged into the Thunder Hall. Looking at those impatient experts, Lindong's gaze remained rather indifferent. He continued standing at his original position, not budging an inch. People who were unable to control their greed were usually the ones who died first. Hundreds of figures streaked across the sky, charging towards the Thunder Hall at an astonishing speed. Within a short span of a few breaths, they had already arrived at the giant doors of the Thunder Hall. Bang! Boundless yuan power transformed into hundreds of light rays. Splitting the air apart, they rained down on the giant doors of the Silver Thunder Hall. In the next instant, loud bangs and rumbling resounded across the horizon. Bang! Facing all-out attacks from various experts, the giant silver door instantly exploded. An ancient smell gushed out from within the busted-open Thunder Hall. This hall, that was shut tightly for thousands of years, had finally seen the light of day once again. "Let's go!" After they saw that the giant doors of the Thunder Hall were broken open, the eyes of some experts were filled with even more ecstasy, as they shot forwards. Although their hearts and minds were consumed by greed, they still activated yuan power with all their might, forming powerful defenses around their bodies. Lindong looked indifferently at this spectacle taking place before his eyes. Just as the person in the lead was about to rush into the Thunder Hall, Lindong's eyes suddenly narrowed. Bang! An astonishing clap of thunder furiously exploded out from within the Thunder Hall. 3 rays of silver, akin to lightning bolts, were brimming with a destructive force as they rushed out from the Thunder Hall. Intertwining and turning into a killing shape, they pierced straight through hundreds of experts. Their speed was such that it even made Lin Dong's pupils contract. Bang bang bang. The three silver rays shattered the skies as they rushed towards those hundreds of experts. Wherever the silver rays went, bodies would explode instantly, turning into clouds of bloody mist. In a short span of 10 breaths, hundreds of experts that were in front were completely wiped out. Thick clouds of bloody mist hung around the entrance of the Thunder Hall. The thick reek of blood in the air caused the eyes of quite a few experts to be overwhelmed with shock. What are those creatures? A few people cried out in terror as they instantly began to revolve the Yuan power within their bodies. Graveness filled Lin Dong's eyes as he started at the three silver light rays. After killing over 100 experts at an astonishing rate, the three silver light rays slowly began to unveil themselves in front of the Thunder Hall. Those were three completely silver figures. Demonic markings akin to those found on Swafei covered their entire bodies. Sinister and powerful black chi continuously radiated out from them, causing the temperature of the land to drop by quite a bit. Lin Dong gently exhaled a breath of air. The three demonic corpses should be the three great Thunder Kings that Swafei previously mentioned. When they were alive, the three of them were at perfect profound death stage. As of now, even after death, they still possess strength comparable to an advanced profound death stage expert. Previously, it only took one demonic corpse at advanced profound death stage to force numerous experts into such a miserable state. However, as of now, there was three of them standing in front of them. Looks like it's not going to be so easy to enter the Thunder Hall. Looking at the three figures blocking the entrance of the Thunder Hall, Lin Dong muttered to himself. Three figures with a silver glow undulated over their bodies, were floating in front of the Lightning Hall. A monstrous light black aura spread, filling the entire place with an evil aura that caused many people's expressions to change. Not these damned puppets again. Pang Hao, Liu Xiaoxuan and the various surrounding experts stared at those three figures. Their expressions involuntarily turned a little ugly. They had already witnessed the strength of these puppets back at the Lightning Lake. Back then, just one of them alone had greatly troubled them. Yet, three of them were here right now. This was equivalent to three advanced profound death stage experts. A rich bloodiness spread gradually across the air. Under the stimulation from the blood, those experts, whose reasoning had been diminished by greed, finally began to gradually recover their senses. Immediately, they did not dare to charge forward anymore. Everyone knew just how powerful these three silver corpses were. Even though hundreds of experts attacked in unison previously, all of them were diced like melons under a chopper. Who would dare to recklessly charge forward now? Ha ha, demon symbol. The three men from Yuan Gate stared at the three silver corpses while a strange smile flashed across their faces. However, they did not take the initiative. Instead, they simply observed coldly by the side. They wanted to see how the rest planned to get rid of these obstacles in their path. The green within everyone's heart had been extinguished. In the next instant, this area became exceptionally quiet. The eyes of many experts flickered. Clearly, they were thinking of how they should deal with the situation in front of them. Lin Dong did not say anything as well. There were many experts present and they were all fairly skilled. Hence, there was no need for him to show off. The silence did not last for a long time. The Nine Serene Gate and the mysterious Sky Hall in front exchanged glances before slowly stepping forward in front of the many experts. Everyone. Pang Hao cupped his hands together and smiled at the various experts, before he said, "All of us here want to enter the Lightning Hall to seek treasures. However, we must first finish off these three silver corpses in front of us." The entire place was quiet as everyone stared at Pang Hao. However, they unexpectedly did not rebuke him. This was because everyone knew that Pang Hao most likely had a plan in mind when he stepped forward. According to my sources, these three silver corpses possess the strength of an advanced profound death stage expert. It is likely that all of us here will suffer tremendously if we were to clash head-on with them. Some people's expression was slightly altered after they heard his words. It was indeed tricky to deal with three advanced profound death stage silver corpses. Does Brother Pang Hao have any good ideas? Some experts asked. Pang Hao smiled faintly and replied, we do possess some means of dealing with these silver corpses. However, we will require help from all of you. Otherwise, it is unlikely that we will succeed. Some commotion sounded from the storm cloud after his words were uttered. Even Lin Dong involuntarily lifted his brow. Did Nine Serene Gate truly possess the ability to deal with 3 advanced profound death stage silver corpses? Ha ha, since Brother Pang Hao has a way to deal with them, it's for the best. Everyone has the same goal. It is naturally no problem for us to assist you, as long as we can finish off the tigers that are blocking the way. Many experts laughed out loud after musing for a moment. Regardless, it was fine as long as they did not need to clash head-on with those creatures. A smile surfaced on Pang Hao's face as he heard this. He quickly flipped his hand. A white circular plate appeared in a flash. There was a vague formation fluctuation present on the circular plate and it was quite powerful. This is a prized treasure of my Nine Serene Gate, the Nine Serene Guarding Spirit Plate. Once it is activated, we will be able to form the Nine Serene Guarding Spirit formation. At that time, we should be able to rely on this formation to suppress these 3 silver corpses for a few days. That amount of time is likely sufficient for us to travel across the Lightning Hall several times. It is actually the Nine Serene Guarding Spirit formation. This is the Nine Serene Gate Sect Guarding formation. It would require over a dozen profound death stage experts in order to activate this formation. Moreover, it takes an extremely powerful force to squeeze this formation into a spiritual plate. There are hardly any individuals in the Nine Serene Gate who possess such ability. Pang Hao has brought along a treasure. Many exclamations began to spread, soon after Pang Hao's voice sounded. It was likely that some of the experts had also heard of this treasure in Pang Hao's hands. Lin Dong's eyes were slightly surprised as he stared at the white-colored plate that was covered with a light glow, sitting in Pang Hao's hand. He could sense quite an extraordinary ripple from it. Immediately, he involuntarily smacked his lips. They was indeed worthy of a big faction. The so-called Nine Serene Guarding Spirit formation might be inferior compared to the ancient universe formation in his body, but it was clearly quite extraordinary as well. Suppressing 3 silver corpses for a couple of days is no ordinary feat. Ha ha, activating the formation requires quite a lot of yuan power. I can only rely on everyone here, Pang Hao smilingly said. Everyone grinned and nodded upon hearing this. They naturally understood that Pang Hao did not wish to exhaust his own strength to deal with these 3 silver corpses. Hence, he had to rely on everyone else. However, these experts did not feel the least bit displeased because of this. After all, Pang Hao was the only one who had such a powerful formation. Lin Dong looked at this scene indifferently. Since this Pang Hao was willing to take out his formation to suppress the silver corpses, Lin Dong was naturally happy to sit back and enjoy the show. However, while Lin Dong was contemplating such thoughts, he saw Pang Hao turn around to stare at him. His gaze was quite peculiar. However, I am unable to wield this formation in a flexible manner. 3 people are needed to draw those 3 silver corpses into the formation once it is activated. Pang Hao smilingly said. The eyes of many experts trembled slightly after these words sounded out. This is a dangerous task and no one wanted to fight with those vicious silver corpses. Currently, there are a total of 3 silver corpses. The Nine Serene Gate and Mysterious Sky Sect will be responsible for drawing 1 silver corpse each. However, another friend present here should help to draw the 3rd silver corpse. Pang Hao smilingly said. The place was quiet. Not a single person took the initiative to speak up. Clearly, no one wanted to step forward and take on the role. Pang Hao was not surprised by this scene. Soon after, his head turned towards Lin Dong in front of the latter's cold eyes. Everyone, before this, we have also met a silver corpse as well. At that time, the silver corpse was chasing after brother Lin Dong. However, the latter managed to escape successfully. Therefore, I believe that brother Lin Dong is perhaps the most suitable person here to handle the task of luring the 3rd silver corpse into the formation. Many pairs of eyes on the storm cloud were quickly directed towards Lin Dong, who was a short distance away, after Pang Hao's voice sounded. Their eyes were mostly filled with surprise. They clearly did not expect that Lin Dong was actually able to escape from an advanced profound death stage silver corpse. Ha ha, brother Lin Dong is truly powerful. In that case, I'm afraid that this task should definitely belong to you. Yes, we will have to rely on brother Lin Dong for this. We hope brother Lin Dong will not reject it. The eyes of the many experts from around the place flickered. A laughter was emitted. Some of them were clearly aware that both Lin Dong and Pang Hao had a grudge with one another. However, they could not be bothered. As long as they were not the ones chosen, it didn't matter who would step forward to deal with the silver corpse. That bastard! Mu Lingshan clenched her teeth. Her large eyes were filled with fury. This Pang Hao was clearly scheming against them again. Lin Dong had an indifferent expression. Pang Hao was indeed extremely vicious. From the looks of it, the latter was clearly forcing him to perform this dangerous task. After all, the formation belonged to him. Moreover, he had the help of the various experts present here. If Lin Dong was to oppose his decision, it was likely that Lin Dong would immediately become everyone's enemy. At that time, Pang Hao could incite the crowd to attack him. Coincidentally, there were many experts present here who were also interested in the silver tower key that he had. There was no shortage of people in this world who would kick you when you are down. Ha ha, brother Lin Dong, what do you say about my suggestion? Pang Hao smilingly looked at Lin Dong and laughed. He was hoping that Lin Dong would furiously reject him. In that way, the present situation would place Lin Dong in an extremely awkward state. Many pairs of eyes were locked onto Lin Dong. Many of them contained some ill intent. Lin Dong acted as though he did not notice the surrounding gazes. He merely looked at the smiling Pang Hao. A moment later, a smile appeared on his face. After which, he nodded. We will do as brother Pang Hao has suggested. This video will end here.